Excuse me.
He's saying stop down.
Yeah, we gotta fix the titles.
Okay.
We'll fix the titles. Alert this. Do
Top and alert on Brian Anderson.
Do an apple on this.
Okay. Hey, Brian.
Hey, we think it's a verdict. We know it's a note.
Wait a minute. Why do you think it's a verdict?
Because Ed Friedland, the head of the court system, is in the room, and I said, "Is it a verdict to him?" And he nodded his head. So I left the courtroom and I left.
CNN saying it's a verdict.
Okay, CNN is saying it's a verdict as well.
Put it up. Yeah.
Well, I'm downstairs ready to change.
Guys, I said put that up.
Yeah.
I don't care. I said put it up.
Thanks, Brian.
Can you alert that?
Alerting.
Apple alert it too. I'll do the.
And can Brian has the Zoom and everything he needs.
Hey, can you get Brian back? Can you get Brian back on the phone?
Does
or
Brian
not?
already have the Zoom and everything?
He's getting back on the phone.
Yes. I know he's going right back in the courtroom.
I know, but I want to talk to him.
Okay, here. Let's see if I can get it.
Yeah.
Did they say, are the lawyers there?
Yes, everybody's in the court. I saw everybody in but Nicole Westmoreland. She was coming into the elevator as I was going down to the elevator.
Is Diddy in the courtroom?
Diddy is not in the courtroom. When I left, he was in the lockup, but there were a bunch of people who went back to talk to him. It was Agnifilo, it was Acevedo, and it was Kenny. They were back in the marshal's holdup with me when I left the courtroom.
So, did the judge give any indication on how long before they read it?
No, the judge is not on the bench. Typically, there's been about a 10 to 15 minute lag time before the judge comes in after the notification is given.
Are you able to hear this?
Yes.
How long, when did the jury start? Do you know when they started deliberating today?
They came in at 8, they were told to be here at 8:45 to go straight to the room to begin their deliberations at 9. I did not see them because I was in another part of the security going through the building. But that's
So the most they could have deliberated was an hour?
Most likely, yes.
Okay, where are you right now?
I'm on the rear side where we're going to wait for the jurors to come out, and when you and I hang up, I'll get on the Zoom with you.
But wait a minute, you're not, wait a minute, are you going to be in the courtroom when they read it? Oh, Jacob's in the courtroom.
Wasserman's in the courtroom. I'm standing by to get the jurors when they come out because we think it's going to happen super fast. So I can't be in two places at once. You know what I'm saying?
No, go. But is there a bank of cameras for a press conference after the hearing? Do they have the bank set up?
Yeah, it's all set up in the front, and Fox is the pool. They're feeding it out.
Okay, and you guys are taking the pool feed? Fox is the pool for the.
Yes, we'll be taking the feed.
Okay, so you've got the pool feed for the news conferences after the verdict.
Yes, I'm just going to make sure.
Okay, so I'm sorry, Brian. Where are you going?
I'm going to get on the Zoom right now, so let me hang up with you telephonically and reconnect with you on the Zoom.
Okay, see ya.
Fine.
Okay. Unsurprising. You know, when the judge says, I need you to go back, something's got to give. So it must have been 10 to 2, whatever it was, because it wasn't 6 to 6. His lawyer's meeting
with him private.
So they're in the holding area. This had to be.
So they have a verdict, right?
Yeah.
So this is not a.
It's not a hung jury.
Them coming back to say that.
They said they have a verdict.
Steve.
You won't let us hang after an hour. All right. I'm bumping all our date preps up.
So this split was 10 to 2.
I think it was 11 to 1. I think the S.
No, they said.
I know, but I think that was just sloppy.
What was that, bro?
I honestly do.
I don't think they were sloppy. They said we.
Or to throw off the same.
But it was.
They could have meant, like jurors, 11 jurors.
You know what I was thinking? Honestly,
I think it's 11 to 1. And that guy slept on it.
Somebody at my gym came up to me today and started asking me about it. And as we started talking, it was like, I think that there are, because if they found him guilty on the Mann Act, which I think they did, right? And they must have, because 10 people said there were 2 crimes. And unless the crimes were unrelated, like arson and burglary.
Bribery.
Drugs are the easy one. They asked the question about drugs during distribution. Now we know that one.
And it looked like they had gotten far enough down the predicate act to get to drugs.
But there were probably people who just said, this just isn't racketeering. And at some point, they probably came in today and said, look, you got to follow the jury instructions. And the jury instructions say, whether you like it or not, they say you got to find them guilty if they have 2 predicate acts.
And of course, the old
Go get your
holidays
rig on.
coming up.
And the holidays.
We gotta
We
go.
just gotta wrap this up.
We already got the day off work, so.
Yeah, but I mean, that's
No, but there
not,
are-
that's not fair to the jury. I mean,
It's not, but I think it's fair to human nature.
I
No,
think,
you stay there,
I
you
think
get in here.
that there must have been some people who took a stand, thought it was going to be a hung jury, and now that the judge said go back in, the judge, these 2 jurors or however many, they're saying, okay, look, we can't do
That's why
that.
They got 10 angry people looking at them.
That's why judges insist on we're not going to give up early. Go back in and deliberate. He wants they want a verdict.
Hey,
This judge is
Reagan,
Thursday, he won't accept it.
can you have Olivia call Garagos and see if they can do if he'll do the Tubi show after the verdict? I know, but Garagos doesn't know, so somebody's got to call him.
This one.
I'm sure it was
He has a gag. He's gagged on this.
Yeah, Roses.
Well, you know why he's gagged? Because his daughter said, "Don't you dare talk."
All right.
Because of your podcast.
Oh, it's a daughter gag order, not necessarily a judge gag
He
order.
literally
Right.
called it a DV order to me. Yeah, no, he hasn't been able to talk about it, but he's gonna now.
Good.
He's gonna now.
It's an angry man.
And he's got stuff to say. Okay, so Cameron, are we doing a separate post for the verdict, or are we just doing the live stream?
Separate. We have 3 preps prep: guilty on all charges, not guilty on everything, and then mix and match depending on what is guilty and not guilty of. A whole separate post. We'll update this one, but we're also going to put a separate post up.
Yeah, that should be
Because we should
updated.
always get different traffic. Like everybody else is going to be doing a post of whether he's guilty or not guilty, so we're going to do it.
Are these going to be mixed, right? That's the one that.
I have no idea. I think it's going to be all.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be.
Well, we have 3 different preps for whatever it is.
I'm ready to go.
But wait a minute, are the preps actually?
Yeah.
Okay,
They
the
the same,
mixed,
yeah.
the mixed one, if it's mixed, again, this has got to get up 60 seconds after the verdict.
Don't worry about all the other ones. I'm in the main one. It doesn't matter whether it's mixed or whatever. I'm plugging in these things. We're gonna pull the trigger as soon as we know. As soon as that shit comes
Okay,
through,
but
we're going.
I'm talking 60 seconds.
Yes, exactly. I know.
Let me just finish. We can always add detail. Get the top line in. Guilty on 3 counts. Guilty on all charges. Guilty on 2. Just whatever the top line is, get that up, and then add details once it's published. Okay? Owen, you got that?
Guys. Start over.
Jury note says we have reached a verdict on all counts. This is the only update we have.
All counts?
Okay, all counts.
I think.
Is he in the courtroom right now?
Yes, he's there. Right.
Any detail on that?
He looked at his family when he walked in.
Go to Scarlett. What?
He nodded at his family and smiled at them when he walked in.
Is Agnifilo in?
He was in there earlier, but
You saying yeah?
yeah, he was the first one to get in there.
He's sitting in a chair with his head down and eyeglasses on.
I don't think Kevin mentioned the color.
He knows. He knows.
You can wear that color in a beautiful three-piece suit.
I mean,
That's why I wore a colored shirt.
I stopped guessing with OJ, but
That's why he didn't wear his
because they railed on that first juror an hour after they started.
And you know he got up and was like, oh, this is
There's a very good chance he's guilty on all counts. Oh, and I think that's going to be what happens. Because why else would they have railed on that one juror an hour in saying he won't make a
The
decision?
judge cautioned everyone in the courtroom to maintain order.
You shouldn't move. Who's in the courtroom?
Everybody, I think.
Like who? Like in,
Besides Diddy hasn't been brought
Yeah,
in
in
yet,
the
but
gallery.
the judge is on the bench.
His mother and sister.
His
and-
family, he nodded his head and flashed his family a small smile. Diddy sitting down.
Yeah.
Judge on the bench. But Diddy is still in the holding cell.
Diddy's in the holding cell. I thought Diddy was in the courtroom.
No. Oh, he is? Oh. Oh, right. Sorry. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. with glasses and.
Is the jury in?
No, jury's in.
Okay, so the
Here we
jury's
go.
in.
You need televised.
So what they'll do, I mean, what they typically do is the foreman hands it to the clerk then hands it to the judge reviews it.
Did he standing up? Jurors enter.
Okay,
Did
here
he
we go.
standing?
Judgment time. Here we go.
He's been 6 to 12.
I still need 3 more stories.
This is like 8 stories.
We're going to be delayed on getting the show ready.
I will delay myself for this.
Judge, we have received your note. Juror number 5, have you reached a verdict? We have. Is it unanimous? It is. Please provide the verdict to the deputy.
In a hush.
I know.
They've reached a unanimous verdict.
So what, he handed it to the deputy hands it to the judge is reviewing the verdict. I'm not sure whether he's going to ask the foreman to read it or
The foreman will now read the verdict.
There you go. Here we go.
Oh my God.
This is it.
What we've all been waiting.
Will that automatically refresh?
This automatically refresh, and I think they're going faster than this keeps crashing because there's so many people.
You're doing both?
I'll keep an eye on CNN. Can you keep an eye on Intercity? Reading the verdict. Is Brian outside?
Brian's outside.
He
Jacob's.
might be able to even like.
Jacob's
he has
in.
his phone.
Do you have Brian on Zoom?
Jacob, he might be able to like hear like cheers. Or
Is
like,
Brian hearing
be
anything?
able to like tell us quicker
Outside the
than.
court.
I know, but there might.
You know what I mean? Okay. No, please. Okay, the deputy will inquire to the verdict. In the matter of U.S. versus Combs, count 1, not guilty. Sex trafficking of Cassie Ventura, not guilty. Transportation of prostitution, guilty. So count 1 and 2, not guilty.
Wow.
Mann Act, guilty.
Wow.
All right, so that's sex trafficking, no. Count 1, no. Count 3, yes. Mann Act, Cassie.
And,
now we
and
have
count
Jane.
3 is Mann Act Cassie.
Correct. Now we have Jane for the sex trafficking and the Mann Act left.
No.
Oh my God.
If they say yes on Jane,
If they said not guilty for Cassie, then
It's just going to be the Mann Acts.
we got to see what they're doing. What did they say on 1?
Not guilty.
Oh,
Guilty on
what-
RICO.
Racketeering,
So
not guilty.
Not guilty
Not
on
guilty
RICO.
on RICO.
It's only the man.
Sex trafficking of Cassie, not guilty. Transportation of prostitution for Cassie, guilty. So now we just have Jane sex trafficking and sorry, I'm yelling. Jane sex trafficking and Jane Mann Act.
Sex trafficking, not guilty. Transportation of prostitution, Jane, guilty.
Wow, so 2 of the Mann Acts. 2 Mann Acts and that's it.
up to 20.
20 years.
But, you know what? But that may be concurrent and the prosecution.
Well, it's 2 separate acts. It wouldn't be.
This is a,
Oh my
even though he's found guilty, this is a loss for
big
prosecutors.
Big
Yeah.
I mean, their whole point was Diddy was a racketeer who forced them into sex. The jury said no.
This is the entire case now is just a simple prostitution case.
It's a prostitution case,
it's
which is
A prostitution case that he faces up to 20 years for.
No, we got that, but just the fact you brought it across state lines is the only thing different than.
And by the way,
I agree. It was the easiest count, and this is a loss for the.
they never.
People do every single day.
If this were just a Mann Act, they never would have prosecuted him.
It's a huge win for Diddy.
They prosecuted him on racketeering and on sex trafficking, and they lost.
But I think the judge will throw the book at him on the 2 counts. Because that's all they got him on, and he's been depicted as so monstrous during this trial that the judge in sentencing, he did, but they found him guilty on the Mann Act. I think he might give him.
Well, and by the way, by finding him guilty on the Mann Act, they could have technically found him guilty on racketeering, but they didn't.
You're not
Well, no,
shocked
because you
by
needed
this?
sex trafficking also.
Right.
No, because you could have 2 separate things.
No, but they have to be 2 different predicate acts.
Right, but the predicate acts for the Mann Act were still 2 different crimes.
I think they have to be 2
No, it's one
separate,
crime, 2 separate
2 types of
Right.
predicate acts.
Yeah.
not two
Exactly.
man-acts. I think you had to.
There were plenty of things the jury could have found. They decided.
They did.
How?
Well,
It wasn't
okay. Presumably, not kid cutting,
No.
not kidnapping.
Oh my God.
Well, none of
Nothing.
not two
Because
of
if
them.
they
Only
would have
men.
found his second, they could have found him guilty on racketeering.
I think they only found men, and they didn't have enough for Rico.
Wow.
How?
Wow.
Did you
Wow.
expect that? That's
I mean,
not.
How did you listen to that Cassie testimony and come
And
to
not,
that?
Wow.
not anything.
So here's, I mean, they said
because
it's
what?
an
Because
11-year
it was 11 years.
relationship.
It doesn't
And
matter.
because there were
you can say
and there were
no.
times where she said she wanted
She
to
was
But they
into
were
the-
But there were
instructed.
times-
The time she
there were
said yes
times
didn't
that she
negate
said
the time she
that's
said
the
no.
instruction.
No.
But there's
But
gonna be
She said no sometimes.
no. But what I was thinking of, when you listen to the testimony, she was saying, "I didn't want to do it." She didn't say to him, "No."
She did say no to him on her 29th birthday.
Yes, she
Daniel
did.
testified
said,
that
"No, I
he
don't
beat her
wanna
up
do
and
this."
walked out of the room and said,
And then
"Continue
he-
the free
Well,
call."
no.
But
That's,
then he threatened her.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
what
He
it-
threatened her.
I understand that, but they didn't believe.
They didn't.
They didn't.
How?
They didn't believe it.
Guys, we have seen time and time again how difficult it is to get a conviction of a famous, wealthy person over and over again.
I mean,
It's
Harvey
just-
Weinstein got convicted. Bill Cosby got convicted.
Then he got out.
So
Hold on, there are exceptions, but we also have Robert Blake and O.J. Simpson, and the list goes on.
yeah, but I can
and
explain.
on.
I can explain O.J. Simpson, and it has nothing to do with celebrity. It has to do with Rodney King. It has to do with Rodney King. That's what it has to do. I covered it.
I know you covered it, but
I'm telling you.
But the understanding in the world at the time, everybody thought he was guilty. There's a lot of people who said
I covered the
as
trial,
bad
and
as
I
it-
know what
So
happened.
wait, does
Back
he,
to this trial.
Hold on, did he
what
just
happened
walk
is there
out
were
today?
too many times that
No.
both Jane and Cassie
yes.
said yes. Said not only said yes, but said they requested
But then
specifically
that's
for
jury
the women to have
nullification of the
recall.
times that
But
they
hold
said
on.
no.
What about the Kid Cudi case?
they don't believe it was him.
They don't. They just don't.
proved it was him.
I know. What about the kidnapping of Capricorn?
She got destroyed on cross.
No,
what
they
what
said
I'm
she was
saying
taken
is
home every
they
day. It wasn't
couldn't.
kidnapping.
They just couldn't. They didn't believe that because had they believed it, there would have been 2 acts.
But
Not to question jurors about the deliberations. Jurors, you can contact your chambers. You gave up a lot these 10 weeks. It's inspiring. You work together, rain or shine. You answered the call of public service. That should give us hope.
Okay, I'm going to just say something now. It's great that the judge advised them, and if they want to take the judge's advice, that's fine. But the judge cannot stop the media from going to this jury and asking them questions. That, I'm sorry. The judge can say that. I ask the media, why? I mean, why? The jury is excused. The media, any juror can say no, but there should be no problem with the media, anybody in the media, approaching an excused juror and saying, could we talk to you? And if they say no, fine. But I'm sorry. I've heard enough of judges saying to the media, don't talk. Why? Why? The jurors can say no if they want.
Fair point.
So I'm sorry about that. That's just wrong.
So let's go get them.
Well, we're gonna try, and everybody else is gonna try. Everybody wants to know, especially now. Especially now. I mean, look, Diddy got convicted on 2 serious felony counts that could land him in prison. I don't think he's going to get the maximum. He's a first-time offender. And you have to look at the overlay here, which is they found him not guilty on the main counts that caused the prosecutors to file this case in the first place. So I don't think he's going to get anywhere near the maximum. But whichever way you look at it, whether he spends 5 years in prison, which will...
Hey, Harvey, Agnifilo just said Diddy should be released to the judge.
Until sentencing.
Until sentencing.
Well, that's interesting because they don't believe he was
No,
the
why?
threat.
The analysis hasn't changed on his danger.
Yes, it has. It has. So he was found not guilty, Derek. He was found not guilty. If he were guilty of coercion or force or racketeering, yes, he should be held without bail.
Society is not at risk from somebody who just simply sleeps with prostitutes. It's just not
that's
a
not
risk.
what he's guilty of. Not sleeping with
No, he's
He's
guilty
guilty
of
of
transporting them.
He's guilty of putting one on a plane going from one state to another.
That's illegal.
Yeah.
No, it's
of it.
illegal,
It's not
but
a
it's not a
dangerous
risk. It's not a risk where you keep somebody in pending appeal.
So how much jail time are we looking at?
I don't know. We don't know.
It's
10 years per.
So, hold on, guys. This is huge. That the judge is going to have to make a decision now on bail.
That's a bail question. You're asking for
This is, guys. This is huge. Whether if the judge, it's huge.
So what? He would just be out until the sentence.
Yeah, he could be out pending sentencing.
Yeah.
Honestly,
it's a fair ask. I don't know that he'll let
That
him.
would be a hell of a last freak off.
This is going to show the judge's
Okay,
feelings on his
Agnifilo is
dangerous
making
No.
an argument about
You can't-
how he should be released.
you cannot.
The analysis is whether
The same thing that he was saying at the bail
The
hearing.
jury said no.
He's not convicted of a crime that would you typically hold over somebody.
It's in Maui. He does not have access to his plane. This is his first conviction, and it is a prostitution offense. He should be released.
Yeah, I mean that's a compelling. That is a compelling argument.
They would never hold over somebody just on a
On the Mann
constitution-
Act, they would
on a
never.
prostitution offense.
They would never.
But it's not the same analysis as the verdict. It just isn't. It's an analysis of
He
dangerousness
was
and flight
found
risk.
not guilty.
He is found guilty of crimes. He is going to be sentenced.
He
Hold
was
on.
found-
Hold on. Now I think about this. Is he a flight risk? Yes, he's still hugely wealthy, and he's been convicted of a crime.
That's why he says he doesn't have access to a plane. They still have his passport. He probably is not a flight risk at this point.
I don't know that you can say that he's one of the wealthiest.
Not everybody who's
Because you're
is
wealthy
held
doesn't
over.
mean you stay in
Okay, I
prison.
give him a thing. His family is here and could sign a bond. He should be released today to go back and live at Two-Star Island. The judge says this is coming up right now. I will hear from the government in a moment. Are you proposing he just walk outside now? Yes.
Holy
If he walks
crap!
outside that courtroom.
No, I know. I don't see how the if the judge says we're going to hold him without bail on a prostitution charge, no way, no way.
During sentencing, Roman Polanski, because he was raped.
He raped a 13-year-old.
Yes.
Okay.
All he did was have
He
sex with a
transported
prostitute.
prostitutes.
He had sex with a prostitute.
Those are crimes, guys.
These
You
are
guys are making them
low-level
sound like not
stuff.
crimes.
They're low-level.
They're punishable up
You hear
to
him
20.
say the judge said, "Do not talk to the jurors."
I know, and we're gonna. The judge is wrong. I mean, the judge can tell the media, no, we are going to try and talk to jurors.
He said they're allowed to talk.
Yeah, I don't
He
care
just told
if
them
the
not to
judge
talk about
advises
what
the
happened in
media.
deliberation.
It's just wrong. He's just wrong.
He told him not to talk about deliberation. He said they're free to talk.
The judge can say anything, but the jurors can talk about deliberations.
Jurors have a First Amendment right to talk about.
And the media has a First Amendment right.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, we are not gonna, this judge is out of bounds. He's out of bounds.
I agree.
He can ask.
No, he can totally request, and if the jurors want to abide by it, that's fine. That's their right. Come on.
Yeah, he's going to talk to the jurors.
Ignore what the judge said. Yeah.
I told him several times, talk to the jurors. Done.
Right. And everybody else is going to try to get and which is not even the point. The point is that the judge cannot advise the media. Come on.
Harvey, I just was hitting up by our prosecutor, our sex crimes prosecutor, Kirsten, who you've spoken with. Fed sentencing is different, but usually, since it's two separate victims, more likely consecutive sentences, up to 20 years, defense will most likely certainly argue to a concurrent.
They're proposing $1 million bond
And travel to Florida.
person found guilty.
The government
He wants to be able to go to Florida, New York.
Can
and
I tell
LA.
you something? The government got its ass kicked here. They got their ass kicked. They never would have filed a Mann Act case against him. This case was filed because of Cassie's lawsuit, and remember, the U.S. attorney gets up and he talks about baby oil and Astroglide and all this other stuff. The jury bought Agnifilo's argument that this was, ooh, you got Astroglide off the street. They lost. This was a huge loss.
Let's turn it into just a game, right? Diddy.
Well, it was a game.
But Diddy did some monstrous things.
Yes.
You can't fault the prosecution. And the prosecution put on a really good case. I'm not faulting the jury, but it's like these things happen, and it was worth the risk for the government, right? He's a kind of a monster.
Well, now,
Yeah.
Is he a federal crime
By
monster?
the
No.
way,
Apparently not,
he is
according to the
probably-
jury.
We saw the intercontinental video.
Yes.
That's enough to say yes.
Right.
That's enough to say
Yes,
yes.
but it's not enough to
But
say
he wasn't prosecuted for that.
I got it. They didn't misdo anything. They just
this should have
always
been
a loose trial.
this should have been a domestic violence case in state court.
The feds can only charge with what they can charge.
In state court. In state court.
They didn't have the statute of limitations.
No, I understand.
Because
they should not have brought the case.
because you had to
But
bring
can I
the
tell you
last 10
something?
years of conduct.
But can I tell you something? Because the statute of limitations ran in California, shouldn't justify the feds saying we got to get our pound of
Comey's
flesh.
saying
Exactly.
the defendant faces a maximum sentence of 20 years. Even while faced with this case, he assaulted Jane. Here in New York, preparing to surrender, he had drugs in his hotel room, was ready to commit the same offense.
That was
talking
not
about when
that-
they arrested him,
Yeah, but
he was
found
ready to
not
do-
guilty.
He was found not guilty.
The Jane
but
stuff.
that's not. But to your point, that's not the analysis.
not the
here.
analysis.
Is he
a
threat-
flight risk
And
and,
is he
a
a
danger?
danger?
Right.
Okay.
And you're saying
Okay.
he was about to.
But
And that's not beyond a reasonable doubt danger. That is he a danger? It's a different analysis than convicting
No,
someone beyond a
no,
reasonable
he's
doubt.
right. I mean,
he is.
listen, what the judge could say hypothetically is he beat Cassie to a pulp in a hallway. He is a violent man, but
The preponderance of the evidence shows
but
he's violent.
do you look at somebody's life history
for sentencing,
for bail?
for sentencing and well, for sentencing, yes.
We're not talking
For bail,
sentencing.
is he
No.
a danger? The judge has this. The judge has this ephemeral right to this. Like, is it to sentence for? Is he a danger?
analysis is not to.
We keep going back to the Intercontinental, which happened 2016. June 2024, a year ago, he beat Jane to a pulp.
Well, but that's according to testimony.
That's according
that
to
he
testimony.
doesn't necessarily have
She
to
showed her
believe.
bruises.
Yeah, but it's not that the testimony has to
I'm
be
saying
true. It's that
that
I know.
while
it
he was
has to be
under
credible
federal
enough to-
That's right.
investigation,
Keep him off. That's
he
right.
was doing all of this stuff.
I understand,
All right.
and the judge might hang his hat on that.
We're going to know, I think, in the next 5 minutes, right? Or maybe the judge is going to take him in a
That's what I think the prosecution's saying is that even after he is now acquitted and whatever,
Judge
still in the
says,
mindset.
I'm not going to resolve this second. I need to review the statutes. Ms. Comey, do you have a case in which bail was denied after a conviction under the Mann Act? You may confer and
That's
come
the
back.
question.
Here we go. We plan to be here the whole day.
That's
So
the question.
They're going to confer
Is
and come
there
back.
a no bail under the Mann
Yeah.
Act? And he's asking the prosecutor, do you have a case that allows me to hold somebody without bail pending sentencing based on the Mann Act?
It troubles me that he's distracted by that because that's not the analysis.
No, but
It's just not.
But no, it's part of it, right? If the answer is it's never happened in the history of American jurisprudence, then maybe okay, we're not.
He should apply the standard of whether to release someone pending sentencing. And the standard says, is that person a flight risk and is that person a danger? It is a separate analysis from your conviction and your indictment.
Flight risk, I totally agree with you, and he can independently analyze that, right? Is he a danger? Well, a big part of is he a danger is what is the crime for which he's been convicted? He hasn't been convicted for the other stuff.
Another part, though, is did he even rebut that his dangerous tendencies? No. During that case, even though they didn't convict him, he never rebutted that he beat the crap out of.
It's not his job to put on a defense.
I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying it is, but
Can
like,
I tell you,
he can take
the
that into
judge,
account.
the fact that the judge is honing in and saying, do I even have authority to hold him without bail based on Mann Act convictions, that's what he asked the prosecutor.
You're right. No, he's honed in on it.
If
So
you're the
I
judge,
agree with you.
if you're the judge and he wants to hold him, it's a good question to ask. Like, has it ever? I don't want to be overturned.
Can I tell you what's just been in my head? So we talked about this in the office for months, that Cassie had a 11-year relationship, and she seemed down with it, at least on paper, on text, with her words for a lot of it, and then there's parts where she said she wasn't. And, you know, when I heard this testimony, because I remember when Cassie testified that we were flying back from France, and this was on direct, where the prosecution was asking questions. I was flying back from France, and Diddy came up to my seat, showed me the freak-off video, and said, I'm going to release it. I may release it, or threaten to release it. And I remember thinking, okay, but unless you do what? And she didn't say. And it really struck me. And then we talked about that on the air.
Yes.
And then on
redirect they connected.
On redirect, the prosecutor asks the question and then she offers it.
But to the jury, it appeared inauthentic.
Because she would have said that
right
at the
bat.
beginning.
Right.
They had to get
at the
connection.
beginning.
I remember we talked about this at
and,
the time.
and it always like stuck in my head. And I always thought there was an issue because of consent.
Yeah.
And then when I heard it was when they came back after an hour and they said, there's one guy who's just not following the law. it just made me think it had to be 11 guilty.
Yeah.
But it may have been 11 not guilty.
Oh, I think it
and
now
it
looks
seems like
that way.
it was.
Well, not 11. We had multiple, but
No. They came in and said a juror will not follow the instructions.
Jurors.
Nope. After the first hour, juror 25, they said he was not following the law. So it sounded like it was 11 against 1.
It sounded like he was a holdout for not guilty.
And that means they reached a decision, right off the jump, that they did a straw poll or something, and it must have been 11 said bullshit to sex trafficking and RICO.
We never thought the holdout would be a guilty holdout. We thought it was a not guilty holdout with 11
it's
guilty.
The only thing
and it
that
turns
made
out
sense.
it was the other flip. Juries are.
We got another note yesterday that said it was multiple jurors.
No. But
I understand.
because maybe that one juror was persuasive.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden there was a split.
How do you swear asking about drug distribution? It looked like they were looking for a reason.
For
someone to say like just handing it to him is also an offense. It's hard to reconcile the questioning.
When that answer comes back from the judge, yes, that's a predicate act.
And that
did he do that?
And that to me suggests jury nullification.
Yes.
That this jury did not believe this was RICO. This was not a mafia Tony Soprano.
Right, exactly.
I mean,
because they threw out that instruction of just handing it to him.
That is organized crime. He committed disorganized crime. He was a jealous criminal boyfriend who was doing all sorts of things but it wasn't an enterprise.
Don't you think they ultimately did not buy Cassie's testimony? They had to discount it tremendously.
Was the text message
or they found reasonable doubt.
Well,
fair.
When she said in that text message, it always stuck in my mind, I'm down to freak off anytime. They put a lot of stock in her words that she was always down. But she said, I'm always.
You know what? I don't want to.
But then she said they didn't buy her. They didn't believe her testimony.
Well, they bought her text message where she said she's always.
No,
down.
you know why they didn't buy it? Because I want to go right back to it. We need to talk. This is why we need to talk to the jury. It feels like they walked into that jury room, sat down, and they said, "This case is bullshit."
Yeah.
And 11 of them said that. I mean, from the beginning. From the beginning.
What are we? Can you imagine? What are we even doing here? This is a simple prostitution case.
Comey said,
okay,
he asked if she knew cases. She said, I know cases involving minors. We intend to raise relevant conduct at sentencing to drugs of violence. The judge said, I'd like letters from each side in a few hours. Now they said, I think that makes sense, according to the judge. Mr. Combs does not want to go back to MDC. He is shaking his head. So 1 p.m. letters, and we'll convene in the afternoon. I'll let the parties know when.
Okay, so it's...
Agnifilo says he would be a fool, which he is not, to violate any condition.
That's true. That's true. While he's out,
let me paint the picture. Diddy may be spending the 4th of July with his family on Star Island.
Absolutely, that could happen.
Or not with his family.
The judge seems to be wanting a hook to say otherwise.
I would not.
I don't know if he'll get it.
I would have lost a ton of money if I had to wager a bet on that.
I would have been broke.
Who would have bet that?
So
I don't.
So yesterday when we were thinking that the jury was deadlocked and that there were 2 holdouts for convicting him, it was probably the opposite.
It was the opposite.
It was the opposite.
It was the opposite.
It was the opposite.
Was the opposite. But no. But you weren't even on it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was working on the website.
One key element that
when they
wasn't
came
brought
out
up,
an hour after they started and said, "There's this one guy who won't follow instructions."
That the jury
now it
saw
seems
that one guy was the one
as a
person.
junkie
It was just one guy who wouldn't
was
say
very
guilty.
disorganized,
Right.
and
everybody
not John
else said
Gotti,
not guilty.
obviously doing a bunch of racketeering
wait,
stuff.
did he
It was
not hold
very
the jury?
obvious to me.
Well, no, I mean,
listening
it's
to the
obvious it was
testimony
unanimous. They
that
said it was unanimous.
Diddy's a junkie.
This is
Jamie thinks it might have been sympathy for his drug addiction.
I want to hear what
Diddy
juror number
is
25. That's
Diddy
right.
is a junkie.
Yeah, I want to know.
And
25.
I think
juror
that the
25,
jurors,
the guy
particularly
who
in New
wouldn't
York,
follow
where
instructions.
drugs
But
are so
25 may have
prevalent
just
in New
been
York.
about RICO.
People,
I don't know.
A lot of people don't have experience.
I think it's a terrible point. That the jury might have had sympathy that this guy was in a drug-fueled
No,
haze.
no, no.
So he's
what drove them then? They admitted to beating the crap out of her in the hallway.
If they think
they saw him beat the crap out of her in the hallway.
Well, if they think he beat her, and if they think that there was force or coercion, they would have found him guilty on sex trafficking.
Maybe not if they feel like there was.
They would have found him guilty on sex trafficking.
I don't know.
They just didn't believe Cassie.
Come on.
It's no bigger than that. They just discounted her testimony. They think it wasn't that bad. They think she wanted it.
Or they had reasonable doubt.
Well, whatever. Sure.
No, but that's a
you're right.
They looked
It's an
at
important
reams of
distinction.
things where bruising was on her face. There were images of
I know, but
of
you're
the abuse. So what do you make of that?
The ship has sailed.
After the
So, but
judge,
what do you make
after
of
the
that,
judge left
though?
the courtroom from the gallery, a loud clapping and cheering as Combs is led back into the holding cell.
I mean, this is a huge victory.
It's incredible.
Well, you know what?
Look at those.
On the one hand, you say it's a huge victory for Sean Combs. Well, he may go to prison for 5 years, but undeniably, it is a huge seismic defeat for the
It's
prosecution.
an embarrassing disaster for one of the most.
If he goes to prison for 5 years, he's happy to go to prison.
I
knowing
think
what he could have done.
and also it's a federal prison. It's the best possible result. He faces up to 20.
No, but he's not going to Supermax. He could go to a minimum
go to a
security.
white-collar prison.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We're acting like there's a very rosy picture. He still has 100 Busby lawsuits. His life is effectively over.
He was taken into custody in that hotel in New York City, and he has never seen the light of day since. He must have had every possible. I mean, yeah. Last night you said he probably can't sleep, probably couldn't. He was picturing the rest of his life. He's got 5 years in the country club. 5 years in the country club.
What happens to the Busby lawsuits? What happens to all that?
Oh, he still has to face all the Busby lawsuits. Yeah. He still may be destitute.
I'm calling Garagos. He won't take my call. He's in the middle of stuff. Just one? I'm going to psychodial him.
A brief overview of who Garagos is for those who don't know.
I'm not taking no for an answer, Mark. What? Yeah, no, she's in the middle of this. He's in New York.
Leave me a message, I'll call you right back.
I'm going to try 5 times.
So Mark Garagos is a
Mark Garagos.
Do you really want to show the fact that he never picks up your call?
Yeah, he made us kill that from the show.
Oh, is that Garagos?
Hey, we have to.
I don't see any.
There's a.
I think you called him twice.
We have to record this.
Record what?
The thing we're doing for the affiliates.
Oh, we got to do that right now.
Send that out.
Where are we doing it?
You're doing it on the live
We're
stage.
gonna do the
We should do
promo,
it-
and then we're gonna record that, and then we'll do.
We should do it right
Do
now.
the promo, then that.
Okay, one more time. If you listen to the Two Angry Men podcast, you will know it takes 20 calls to get him once. Am I wrong?
I know.
Wait a minute.
Oh, you can get that.
Oh, Joe Tacopina, tell Nancy, Grace, and Ashley I told you.
Is he coming on today?
I don't know.
He's gonna have a field day.
Okay.
He has to now.
Let's go do this affiliate thing now.
Do the promo, then the affiliate,
Okay.
just so to knock them both out. Let me see. I have to rearrange that.
Yeah, only if that is not. Oh, definitely.
That's crazy.
My God.
I have to check.
All right, head into the stage.
So what do you think that we're gonna promo?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe Kylie Jenner faking Love Island, you think?
Oh, that is great.
How about that?
Her and her friends did the Love Island.
By the way,
Post her a chat.
I cannot stomach it anymore. I'm sorry.
It's so good, just keep going.
Oh,
Last night
God.
was amazing. They're too dumb. They're not too dumb.
Oh my God.
One sold an AI company.
The one who was saying, I like to drink water. Do you
Shut
like
up
to drink
about
water? We
the
have so
Bible,
much in common because we drink water.
I mean, it's great.
Okay, let's do this. Here we go.
Alright. Are you guys rolling for the promo?
Promo first.
Yeah, promo first.
Sound up. And you can do despite the fact that Diddy may serve a few years in prison.
Yeah.
On the next TMZ Live, an enormous loss for prosecutors. On the next TMZ Live, an enormous loss for prosecutors. Jurors found
Acquitted.
On the next TMZ Live, a huge loss for prosecutors. Jurors acquitted Diddy on the 3 big charges.
Well, hold on. If you're gonna
be long.
You gotta. One, it's gonna be long. 2, if I'm gonna do, despite the fact that you should start with Diddy. Jurors acquit Diddy on 3 charges. An enormous loss for him.
Okay. On the next TMZ Live, jurors acquit Diddy on the 3 big charges. An enormous loss for prosecutors.
Despite the fact Diddy may spend 5 years in prison.
Yep. All right, now we're gonna count up on the clock.
Actually, yeah, it should be 5.
What do you want to go
It
to?
should be several years.
A minute.
We got to do it one more time.
Redoing promo?
It's not 5. Yeah, despite several years, not 5 years.
Right. On the next TMZ Live, On the next TMZ Live, the jury acquits Diddy on the 3 big charges. On the next TMZ Live, the jury acquits Diddy on 3 big charges, an enormous loss for prosecutors.
Despite the fact Diddy may spend several years in prison.
Yep.
Okay, now we do a minute.
1 minute's gonna count up.
Here we go.
So you're starting it with just like shocking, or you know, right into it, no setup.
We're doing no rails, nothing. It's just you two.
Yeah, but we're gonna spitball.
But we got to do it in a minute.
But we'll do it. We'll spitball. Just trust me on this, okay? Just trust me.
Follow the
Who's running the clock?
They're running the clock.
Tim's got you.
Tim's got the clock too.
Okay, here we go. This is shocking. This was an enormous defeat for prosecutors. The 3 big charges, which is why they prosecuted him in the first place, the jury acquitted Diddy.
They only found him guilty on what we knew all along were the easiest things to find him guilty of. That was the transportation for purposes of prostitution, the Mann Act.
Which is sending a prostitute across state lines. Happens every day.
We knew before the trial started he was guilty of
They
those.
never would have filed these charges if it were just that. This undeniably is an enormous embarrassment for prosecutors, and it really underscores what Mark Agnifilo was saying, that they tried to make it about baby oil and Astroglide and all that other stuff. And the jury,
But you can't
seems to
ignore the
look
fact
through
that they looked through also Cassie's emotional testimony, pregnant Cassie testifying,
and didn't
wasn't
buy
enough.
it.
It wasn't
and
enough.
Didn't buy it. It is undeniably a victory for Diddy, even though he's going to spend time in prison, it would seem.
Great. For TMZ Live so far, we have Jose Baez is in for 10:30.
Yeah, I know, that's good.
He was like, I called it, so he's.
I want to get
was what he
Joe.
said to Tawana. Yeah, we're also.
I want to get Joe.
Joe
and
hasn't responded yet.
I want to get Mark. I mean, Mark is number 1.
Yeah.
I'd love to get Jose
You want
and
to do
Joe.
Mark on live and Tubi, or do you want to save Mark for Tubi?
No, I don't want to save
Are you
any.
guys getting like Ray J or something, like one of his friends? who's,
And
like,
we're out to Ray J as well.
Okay. I was like,
What's his name?
Punisher is.
But I want to get Mark.
No.
No, the Punisher is no. The Punisher is just testimony. No, I mean, think about the big picture here. I want to get Nancy Grace. That's who I want to get.
you don't want to save her for the Tubi?
No, I mean it's not one or the other. It's not one or the other. I want to get somebody who really believed in this. I want to get Nancy Grace. I want to get Nancy. You know, if we can get Jose and Joe, that's great. I definitely want to get Mark. He's number 1. Right. Because Mark was on that team. And I'm going to go for Tenny. I'm going to see if maybe Tenny will do it. But I doubt they're going to do anything until they have the hearing. The hearing is at 10 our time. If we push live until 11, or at least the A block.
Yeah. It just has to be dropped by like 11:50.
Well, we should shoot for Mark. I mean, that's who we want. I mean, we want to get somebody on that defense team.
So Mark Garagos is number 1.
Mark's number 1.
Yeah.
On the defense team?
I know.
Now he's on the defense team.
Why do you think he wouldn't
No,
talk
I know.
to me?
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah.
He would never ever say it.
No.
Well, now he's going to say
All right, so Mark, then Nancy is number 2.
I think we want to get Nancy no matter what.
Yeah.
I mean, you want some...
And she's already confirmed for Tubi, so she'll be in
Nancy
it.
is-
Just get a
We
time.
are, but also Lisa Blue, who defended, she defended Don.
I know,
who
no,
was a part of
no,
the-
no.
Hey,
Nancy.
Jacob's on the phone if you need to talk to him.
No, we're good.
Cool.
Nancy.
You talking about for live or?
For live.
Okay, so.
So,
okay,
so
what do you
so,
want? To me, I have to have the book.
the ideal is Mark and Nancy.
Yeah.
Okay? Those are the two we absolutely want.
Yeah.
Jose Baez is great, and Joe, he's great. But those two are number 1 and 2. And that if we can get the two of them, that's who we want.
Yeah, Nancy we can easily get. I get Nancy all the time. Nancy, I can
So
call
we
her
get
now.
Nancy and we try to get Mark.
So,
I also really think that you should still try for Ray J. You haven't said like one of his
You
friends.
need one of
Yeah,
either
sure.
Ray J is the first choice.
Yeah, Ray J would-
Or Stevie J.
Ray J or Stevie J.
Because they'll be.
Ray J's gonna be great.
Now, the other thing is, honestly, the number 1 person I want is a juror.
Oh yeah.
So that's going to be the key. So Brian's working on that. So if we can get a juror, that's number 1.
Yeah,
Brian
Brian's
and
working
Tiffany
on
are
that.
also-
Yeah, they have the
Tiffany's
Zoom link.
also-
They already know
Yeah,
to call in.
called her
We have
yesterday.
someone watching the Zoom all morning. If someone hops in, she's gonna flag it immediately.
Yeah.
The Zoom closes every 40 minutes, so we're gonna keep reopening it every 40 minutes for the whole day.
Okay.
So.
So 11 o'clock, no, 10 o'clock our time is when they go back into court on the bail issue. The other thing is,
So now when we do the
hey, Eric,
we can't say whether he's.
Well, we can reach
Eric,
the lockout on 10.
if Diddy, if they let Diddy out, you should call Backgrid, and we want to find the, you know, he's gonna, if it happens, he'd fly to Star Island. So, what's the name of the airport? The private?
Apalaka. Oh, you mean in New Jersey?
In Jersey. Teterboro. Teterboro. My guess is it might be Teterboro.
And he landed Apalaka.
Right. So.
What is it?
Teterboro, New
No,
Jersey.
what is it?
And then in Miami, it's Apalaka.
Apalaka?
Yeah.
OPA-LOCK.
Thanks for doing that.
I handle all the spelling around here.
Oh, I forgot we're live streaming. I know how to spell too. Yeah.
Please, so call
Yeah,
back.
call right now.
And that's going to be top priority.
Cool.
Wow.
I can't.
So
It's not nearly as shocking as OJ, but it definitely had that feel.
You know why it's more shocking than OJ? Because I saw it coming in OJ. Because when Mark Furman took the stand and admitted using the N-word, and I looked at that jury and saw how the prosecution bungled it, even though it was apparent that he was the guiltiest man ever, I was, my head was there. My head wasn't, and you know, the funny thing is, my head was kind of there
early on.
No, before the jury started deliberating.
Right.
When they started coming out.
But then when they came back so quickly,
I just misjudged it.
Right.
I misjudged it.
Say you can never predict a jury.
You can never predict a jury. Boy, ain't it the truth? Hold on. For doing it. I mean, I guessed it. I made a guess yesterday, totally wrong.
I should have done that.
The feds will prosecute me. Sans baby oil. Okay. And you guys you can shoot the beginning of the show when we do Diddy. Okay.
Do you
want
me to?
So, let me just tell everybody watching this. It is now. It's almost 8 o'clock LA time, 11 o'clock Eastern time. So we are going to start our morning meeting for the TMZ on TV show. At 11, the judge is back on the bench, 11 LA time, 10 LA time, 1 New York time. The judge is going to be back on the bench and I think is going to make a decision on whether to release Diddy or not. And I think there's a good chance he's going to do it. And we will be back on YouTube when the judge convenes, so we'll let you know. So at around 11 o'clock, at 10 o'clock Pacific, 1 o'clock Eastern. Just before that, we'll come back on YouTube and let you know whether Diddy is going to be a free man today. Again, he could be celebrating the 4th of July with his family on Star Island in the house that was raided by the feds. And he could be out as early as hours from now. I mean, it's possible. So we will let you know, and we're going to just do our show right now. We'll keep it rolling while we do the Diddy part, and then we will shut down and we'll come back 10 Pacific, 1 Eastern. Okay, let's do the show. Anybody got a marker?
Marker.
How you shoot? The marker.
Cone shoot.
I got it.
Okay, so Jacob, we're gonna do the Diddy segment, and then we're gonna cut.
Okay.
Then we're gonna do
I don't know where Jacob is. Can we cut the families coming out? That's better. Coming out.
Do we know what we're walking out with?
Yeah.
Love Island.
All right, so the walkout might change, right, depending if he gets out or not.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm sure Fox will probably go.
But a week ago,
I want to cut that as well.
And then, Derek. And then the walkout might change, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If he's a free man.
Yeah.
Great.
Corey, you want me?
Yeah, Derek's doing Diddy.
Yeah, they're gonna do that.
Okay, here we go. Okay, Lauren Sanchez tried on another. No. Okay. Okay. Diddy is a convicted felon, and it is a huge win for him and a colossal embarrassment for prosecutors.
Yeah, Diddy was found not guilty on the 3 major charges against him, and only found guilty on the Mann Act, the transportation across state lines for purposes of prostitution.
Which is almost a technicality.
It's just not what they would have brought the case against him for.
If the sex worker would not have crossed state lines, it wouldn't even be a federal crime.
I mean,
it's just an issue of crossing state lines.
It's still punishable by up to 10 years, but this is not why they prosecuted him. The big fish for the Southern District of New York prosecuting this case, one of the most storied prosecutors, was to get him on sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and on RICO, and they failed. The jury found him not guilty on both of those charges, against Jane, the sex trafficking, against Cassie, the sex trafficking, and the RICO overall, which means all this testimony that Cassie gave, tearful testimony, Jane gave testimony, the jury just didn't buy it.
Didn't buy it, or at least had reasonable doubt. They never would have prosecuted this case if it were just about the Mann Act. Never in a million years. And then you have to think back to the U.S. attorney having this, well, you have to think back to a raid where they have 70 officers from Homeland Security busting into his homes. And then the U.S. attorney, it's interesting, Mark Agnifilo, his closing argument may have won the day when he said, the Homeland Security got 1,000 bottles of baby oil off the street and Astroglide as well. Ooh, I mean, that's what he said. And it feels like the jury bought it. And I gotta say, I was at the gym this morning, and somebody came up to me and said, somebody came up to me and said, I heard you guys your YouTube yesterday, and he said, do I have this right that this may have been a play by officials in the U.S. Attorney's Office to kind of get the shine on them? I mean, we saw it with Rudy Giuliani as U.S. Attorney. We saw it as James Comey as U.S. Attorney when he prosecuted Martha Stewart. And
that's how the jury saw it.
It kind of is.
Yeah, I mean, it's mind-blowing.
It's upsetting.
It's devastating for women as well.
Yeah.
Like, this ultimately comes down to the fact that the jury didn't believe the testimonies, all of the evidence put forward about them being forced. It's ridiculous.
But what if? But there are women on the jury. There were 4 women on the jury.
Oh, that's not enough.
Wow.
But wait a minute. But what if they said, look, she was so down with these freak-offs for so many times, and most of the other times when she said she wasn't, it was in her head, but she didn't convey it, most of them. And if the jury said, we just are not convinced beyond a reasonable doubt.
But they were instructed that you only need one act of not consenting, and they asked for the testimony about 3 different instances where there was testimony about her saying, I don't want to do the freak off.
Jurors are human beings, right? And ultimately, it is true. They either didn't believe Cassie or they maybe didn't think it was a big enough deal to convict him on sex trafficking. They convicted him on the Mann Act, which up to 20 years, but they're probably far less than that.
I mean,
unless the judge has
offender.
he's a first-time offender.
And by the way, the Mann Act is a nonviolent crime.
It is, but the judge knows he did this over a long period of time. He may want to throw the book at him on those 2 crimes.
Is probation likely, or
No.
He'll get some jail time. But look, and we can opinions may differ on this, but it's a simple prostitution charge. The only thing it's not what we common variety is that he brought somebody across state lines for it, but that's a technicality.
It's the crossing of state lines that makes it a federal crime. Otherwise, it's a state prosecution. By the way,
we're talking about
by the way,
misdemeanor, guys.
It's often
a federal
like,
crime.
If it were all in California, it'd probably be a misdemeanor.
Oh, but by the way, this is never prosecuted.
But it's not a misdemeanor.
I got
it's a real crime.
I got it's a felony. But if he were to look up somebody online just like he did, but it was across town instead of on the other side of in a different state, we would have a local crime that would never be prosecuted.
The thing I'll agree with you is they would have never brought the case just on that. You're 100% right. They wanted the bigger fish, but it's still a crime.
If somebody's just convicted for the Mann Act, are we even upset with that person for bringing somebody across state lines for the purpose of sex? Is that really
are you
care
upset?
about?
Because if you're going to say yes, I'm going to ask you about somebody who takes some hires a hooker in
personal
Vegas.
life.
Yeah, wow. I don't want to get into that. But what I will say is, the judge, you say the jury is are people. The judge is a person too, and he may have his own feelings about Diddy.
The judge has to follow
He's
the
a
law.
human. He's a human,
I know,
Harvey.
but the judge
and
has to follow the law.
He does.
It's up to
and
10
he has
years.
a lot of discretion over how to punish Diddy.
Well, he does.
Up to 10 years.
Sort of what Justice McReynolds once said, right?
Yes. The old bespotted, I don't know the whole quote.
It's just like this.
An amorphous dummy, unspotted by human emotion, is an unbecoming receptacle for human.
This is your dementia
Yes,
check.
yeah, it really is. Now we go to a conservatorship case.
I think it's great they dropped the case. It makes it easier next time with similar cases brought.
Oh, it makes it so much harder. They've been embarrassed. The prosecutors have been embarrassed.
This is a humiliating defeat for prosecutors.
But I think to the point Derek just made, the next time they have somebody in a similar situation, they're going to be less likely.
They're going to be gun shy about bringing it. This is embarrassing.
I don't see how you can watch that video and know the video is
turn it away from me?
and not think that force was.
This is a triumph of illegality. I'm sorry. Like the fact that he
Hey, Eric,
bribed
did
the
we
guy to
print
bury
the
the video
Wimbledon photos?
and got around the statute of limitations.
Which way?
on
What
state
time?
claims. It was an awkward fit in federal court. He wins in federal
Oh
court.
wait,
means
I didn't give
he's
you Wimbledon.
insulated
That's
himself
for
from
Steve.
penalty.
Yeah, no, I'm.
Effectively, this is how rich people.
Who's
insulate
doing Haley?
themselves.
Now, they could
Wait.
still theoretically.
You said Green Day.
Trinus, yeah, sorry.
There are things that happen within the statute of limitations, domestic violence, violence against women. I don't think they will, but it's possible.
I think that's what we'll see. I think Letitia Wright, is that her name? The New York Attorney General?
Yes.
Is going to step into the breach.
Yeah.
No
Thank
way.
you.
Yep.
Really? And look for a reason.
They did it in the Rodney King case, right? The officers got acquitted locally and they convicted them federally on the same crime.
This guy's dangerous, man.
Hold on. The statute of limitations.
So very happy.
On the Intercontinental,
Yes. But there are sex crimes where the statute of limitations is longer.
And Jane testified that he beat the crap out of her in 2024. That's certainly a lot.
She got a highly.
No, it was 2024.
Yes. When they brought the case.
No, when he chased her around, it was.
At 10 o'clock, we'll find out.
Yeah, 2022. We still lose, yeah.
Oh, so
But Janet said
he was
after
to
he was
walk out
aware
with
of the
Lucy
case.
Gray.
Everyone's walking out right now on TV.
So an ankle bracelets, passports already been taken. You would have no access.
So you can't flee.
Yes, everyone please be on standby for 10 o'clock in case we have to do a full room pickup. What happens?
Christine, somebody with a $500
So
million.
no lunch breaks out around 10.
So do you want to add the Harvey? You want to toss the last element of getting out pending sentencing?
We're gonna know at 10 o'clock.
Yes,
though.
the official is that she's
Oh my god, Stevie J just texted Olivia. I told y'all not to count my guy out.
Wow. But it's going to be a victory lap. That's going to put like Donald Trump's victory lap.
Does he do a white party for the 4th of July if he gets out?
He does a full free
But
all.
who? Yeah, no, he does.
Yes, but only local prostitutes. Full white party, only local.
Sorry, Punisher. I can't breathe.
Yeah. Sorry.
I mean, if you want to pay your own fine, that's fine.
See, that's all the funny stuff. But we can't do it.
All right, let's keep going.
So here's what.
So now here's the deal. Well,
Well,
at the time we are doing this now, the Diddy's lawyers have said, let him out pending sentencing.
They said he's only been punished on a non-violent crime, transportation of prostitutes. He should be released pending sentencing.
And I will say that if it wasn't Diddy, and if it was just a Mann Act prosecution, he would, number one, he wouldn't have been in jail. And number two, they would let him out for sure, pending sentencing and appeal.
Although he is still a flight risk and he's still very, very rich, and the analysis is different than the conviction.
The judge the judge said,
Witness
to
tampering.
give me a case where somebody's been held without bail for a Mann Act offense. And the prosecutor said, we'll do some research.
I really think there's no flight risk here. It just, I understand how rich he is, but
there was no flight risk
he's going to go to jail for
Polanski.
a few years. He's going to come out and, from what we've seen from everybody else, be re-embraced into society and start making hits.
I don't know about that.
We know he's a terrible guy. He's a domestic abuser.
I don't know.
How much is he embraced by other by?
I think a lot of people.
Why release him? He's facing prison time.
Well, he's not, I'm sure he's not, what he's
No, I
thinking
get
is,
it.
I'm not going to be in prison for the rest of my life.
Yeah, but why
I'm
release
not worried
him?
about that. But the first party he has, and he will have one,
Yeah.
who's going to show up?
Yeah.
Who's really going to show up?
He's going to be a.
Is that really the issue today?
I saw Trent saying
Like he's only guilty on those two charges, so he doesn't look as bad.
No,
so
but his image is messed up.
But his supporters are still
Hey
going to stand by him.
guys, I will only say, I will only say this.
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
Well, you know what I'm going to say.
O.J.
Simpson ended up being a beloved character in Vegas, where people were swarming him for autographs and pictures.
And white women.
I know.
The scumbag capital of the world. He was
Wait, but hold on. But Harvey, Ray Rice beat his wife, right? This is the same thing. He beat Cassie on video. And that's an image. If people can see that, it's going to mess up his image. It's
visual. And he's still got 100 BuzzFeed lawsuits to deal with. His life is not good.
Where are the examples of musicians who are not still incarcerated, who have done horrible things and not been able to come back?
It's the video, though. The video.
Michael Jackson
came back.
Michael Jackson was pretty.
And he
That's something about when it's on video.
Although the This Is It tour was going to be.
This Is It tour was selling out.
Doesn't mean anything.
The This Is It tour was selling out, Eric.
But for the rest, all the years.
But Eric, and now his estate's worth $1 billion.
He was never convicted even.
He makes $600 million a year in his estate.
Because he's dead. Because he's not problematic anymore. He's dead. I hear you. You just listen to.
Okay, I get it. Everybody thought Martha Stewart was finished. That Martha Stewart, the homemaker, goes to prison. Everybody should-
But a non-violent.
She was insider trading. Who cares?
Harvey, the man beat his girlfriend and it's on video.
I know.
But the video doesn't mean anything. Just look at the jury. The jury didn't even take into context the video at all.
You
They
compare
did. The
trading
jury
to
asked about the Intercontinental.
Force.
The jury actually asked for a testimony back.
But they asked about it, how it relates to a freak off, which is what the trial was about.
They wanted to
So-
know was he pulling her back into a freak off? And there was testimony that no, it was about.
How can you see that video
No,
and
there
not think
wasn't
there
any
is force involved in this relationship?
It has to be force in connection with the freak off, because that's what they were talking about.
I don't know how good that video is.
What the defense said, I don't know, but the defense was saying it was because she saw a text message from another woman and they got in a big fight.
If Judge Subramanian releases this guy pending sentencing, he's looking at a possible Roman Polanski situation, which is embarrassing. No, you are. What do you mean? You act like that was ancient history. Roman Polanski fled.
13.
He fled. I'm not asking about the crime. He fled justice.
No, but Derek, you can't equate.
Okay.
Alright, that's plenty.
Okay, so
And then I said at 10.
So we're gonna probably have to come back. We are gonna have to come back. So we'll figure it out. That's gonna be the end of YouTube for now. But we're gonna be back in 2 hours, a little less than 2 hours, to see if Diddy goes free or not. So we will be back. So stay close.
It's the end of us on YouTube, right?